For decades, the ultimate fail-safe in cybersecurity was the human eye. But that biological sensor is now a liability. Traditional multi-factor authentication was designed to stop simple credential theft. You enter a password, the system sends a code to your phone, and you read it. The entire architecture assumes that the person at the end of that chain can accurately verify what they are seeing and hearing. That assumption breaks down when artificial intelligence generates synthetic media that mimics trusted individuals. An attacker can now clone the exact voice of a company executive or an IT administrator with algorithmic precision. In a modern breach, an employee receives an urgent phone call. The voice on the other end belongs to their CEO, demanding immediate action on a locked account. The employee, relying on their ears, trusts the caller and hands over a one-time password sent via a phishing link. Look at this standard authentication flowchart. System logic is sound until the human decision node. A red path highlights synthetic audio overriding human judgment, bypassing the biometric lock. The human, meant as the final security gate, is weaponized to grant the attacker full internal access. Our enterprise security systems are structurally sound, yet remain compromised because the biological sensor verifying the data, the human employee, can be tricked by synthetic media. To secure enterprise networks, we have to re-architect identity workflows away from human perception entirely. The defense must shift to phishing-resistant adaptive cryptography. This architectural diagram for enterprise identity verification starts with a central access-granted core. We build a perimeter removing human judgment. Identifying the weakest links is step one. Historically, systems relied on passive factors like SMS codes and standard push notifications sent to mobile devices. These passive factors are highly vulnerable to social engineering. When an attacker creates a high-pressure scenario using cloned executive audio, an employee is easily manipulated into reading a code aloud or tapping an approval button. Attackers also exploit a vulnerability known as MFA fatigue. By flooding an employee's phone with dozens of login requests and combining that annoyance with a synthetic phone call demanding compliance, they coerce the user into passively approving the prompt just to make it stop. We deprecate those SMS and push nodes entirely. In their place, a cryptographic hardware key module locks onto the boundary. Hardware keys and passkeys tie authentication strictly to a physical device. A mathematical handshake occurs directly between the hardware and the server. Because the user never sees the underlying code, they cannot be tricked into giving it away to a deepfake. To further defend against push bombing, an active number matching layer slides directly in front of the hardware key module, establishing a two-step gateway. Number matching forces the user to look at a system-generated number on their screen and actively input it into their mobile device. It takes a passive click and transforms it into an active, verified action. By enforcing hardware tokens and active matching, security architects remove the attacker's ability to weaponize an employee's panic or confusion. The authentication pipeline relies on cryptography, not compliance. Stolen passwords are only half the problem. Attackers are also targeting standard biometric systems, using synthetic images and cloned audio to bypass traditional facial recognition and voice scanners. Modern artificial intelligence generates synthetic identities that are fluid and highly deceptive, capable of mapping to a target's likeness in real time. Because deepfake technology improves at an exponential rate, human perception has permanently lost the ability to reliably filter authentic identities from synthetic ones. We can no longer trust our own eyes and ears. The mandatory upgrade to standard biometric scanners is liveness detection. In this split-screen analysis, a scanner on the left maps a static synthetic face and accepts it. On the right, liveness detection overlays a scanning grid, probing for mathematical inconsistencies. It zooms into the eyes and mouth, highlighting subperceptual anomalies and timing irregularities in red. These AI-powered systems evaluate facial microexpressions and contextual mismatches to identify potentially manipulated content. Defending against algorithmic forgery requires fighting AI with AI. Integrating these detection capabilities directly into enterprise authentication workflows allows organizations to process massive quantities of verification data in real time. Liveness detection shifts biometric security from a simple question of "what do you look like?" to mathematically proving "are you physically present and biologically real in this exact millisecond?" Even with robust entry protocols, we have to look beyond the initial login and evaluate the surrounding environmental context of every authentication attempt. Returning to our architectural diagram, a new risk-based telemetry ring expands outward, encircling the entry nodes. Contextual data points like device MAC, IP location, and login time funnel into this ring. Suddenly, the ring pulses red as it detects an anomaly in the IP location. When these contextual anomalies appear, adaptive risk-based authentication automatically triggers step-up verification. The system demands secondary proof before proceeding. If the perimeter fails, the ultimate administrative failsafe is least privilege access. It physically limits the blast radius of a compromised credential. The central access-granted core fractures into isolated silos. A pathway grants access to one specific silo. The rest remain locked. Through continuous monitoring and strict access limits, even if a highly sophisticated deepfake bypasses all outer controls, the attacker cannot pivot laterally across the enterprise network. Adaptive risk policies and strict workflow constraints transform multi-factor authentication from a single static doorway into a continuous contextual gauntlet. This diagram shows the fully constructed deepfake-resistant architecture, defended by hardware keys, liveness APIs, a telemetry ring, and least privilege silos. Watch as multiple attack vectors strike simultaneously. They are systematically blocked. One rejected by the telemetry ring, another fails the number match, and the synthetic biometric is stopped cold by the liveness API. We have moved from a static, perception-based authentication model to a dynamic, layered, and cryptographic model. This evolution is strictly necessary because highly realistic AI media has permanently broken the reliability of basic biometrics and human verification. The definitive operational directive for enterprise security teams is clear. Minimize reliance on easily spoofed factors, mandate continuous monitoring, and integrate AI-driven anomaly detection directly into the access pipeline. The ultimate goal for any organization is to build an access perimeter that cannot be talked into opening. In the deepfake era, digital identity is no longer based on what a user looks or sounds like. It relies entirely on cryptographic proof and measurable behavioral reality.